and pay homage to United Nations peacekeepers, including African Union mediators, whose efforts helped stabilize the country in the aftermath of its civil war. As Liberia marked a historic return to the global stage with its election to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for the first time in 64 years, supporters of the Congress for Democratic Change took on their social media platform to appreciate former President George Weah for his role in laying the diplomatic foundation that made the achievement possible. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia expresses concern following the release of a compliance audit by the General Auditing Commission, which covers serious irregularities in the Ministry of State's supplementary payroll system that's covering the period from July 1, 2018 to March 31, 2024, urges President Bouaka to take immediate action on GAC audit recommendation and ensure that those implicated, whether past or present, are held accountable. And in foreign news, five members of a United Nations convoy carrying aid to the war-torn Sudanese city of El Fashar have been killed in an attack, UN agency has said. The headlines, the bulletin of the news, our foreign development are all packaged in this evening news presentation. But a very short break to be back with the bulletin. Thanks so much for rejoining us on the news program tonight. Liberia has been elected to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, marking a historic diplomatic milestone for the West African nation. In a nationwide address, President Joseph Boakai described the achievement as both a national triumph and a symbol of Africa's growing influence on the global stage. The country victory comes after a sustained campaign backed by the African Union and key regional partners, following Liberia to join the 15-member Security Council as a non-permanent member for a two-year term starting in January 2026. In his address, President Boakai reflected on Liberia's own restrained past and praised the country's resilience in overcoming conflicts and division. The Liberian leader extended heartfelt gratitude to the nations that supported Liberia's candidacy and paid homage to United Nations peacekeepers and African Union mediators whose efforts helped stabilize the country in the aftermath of its civil war. He pledged that Liberia will use its seat on the Security Council to advocate for key global issues affecting the continent and beyond. The Liberian leader further added that Liberia will be the advocate voice for Africa in the global stage, noting it will address conflict prevention, the protection of civilians, especially women and children, and stronger support for peacekeepers and peace building operations. As Liberia marked a historic return to the global stage with its election to a non permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for the first time in 64 years, supporters of the Congress for Democratic Change took on their social media platform to appreciate former President George Weah for his role in laying the diplomatic foundation that made the achievement possible. Across social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, CDC supporters are celebrating the moment as a reflection of long-term foreign policy efforts initiated under the Weah administration. According to them, though President Weah may no longer be in office, but his impact continues to shape Liberia's international standing. CDC loyalists argue that the Weah administration active engagement with global partners and institutions significantly boosted Liberia's diplomatic profile, paving the way for its successful candidacy for a Security Council seat. Between 2018 and 2024, President Weah prioritized multilateral cooperation, peace building, and international outreach. His government participated in key global forums, including the UN General Assembly, and the African Union Summit, while also working to re-establish and strengthen ties with regional allies and international development partners. Despite current President Joseph Boakai has received wide acclaim for steering Liberia through the final phase of its Security Council bid. Many citizens, supporters insist that national achievement of its magnitude must concede political dividends. Meanwhile, digital platform continues to boast of commentary, support, and debate. Pro-We Are influencer and CDC affiliated pages are trending on a hashtags such as We Are Legacy, Unity Security Council Liberia, and Diplomatic Matter. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia has expressed concern following the release of the compliance audit by the General Auditing Commission, which covered or uncovered severe or serious irregularities in the Ministry of State supplementary payroll system covering the period from July 1, 2018 to March 31, 2024. Addressing a press conference Tuesday in Singapore, Centara Executive Director Anasi Miamen stated that among key fundings include over US 3.5 million unauthorized supplementary payroll spending, payment totaling US 7.9 million, and LD 9,600 164.1 cent disbursed without proper documentation, including the severance payment made to over 647 layoff employees without authorization. Miami noted that while much of this period falls under the administration of former President George Weah, the current officials of government under the Unity Party are not blameless. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia Executive Director stressed that the report revealed that within 2 months of assuming office, the current administration hired supplementary staff outside of former recruitment processes and paid them over US 36,000 monthly using funds for the consultancy budget or without proper documentation or verification. We also call on Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission to expedite investigations into the allegations, adding that the LACC confirmed that a probe into payroll problem begins on October 14, 2024, but nearly 8 months later, no conclusion has been reached. Miami highlighted an ongoing LACC investigation into bribery allegations within the House of Representatives. The allegation, according to Miami, are linked to the dramatic resignation of former House Speaker Councillor J. Funati Kofa in late 2024. In a related development, the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia Executive Director Anasi Miami lauded the government of Liberia for its recent accession to the Fisheries Transparency Initiative, calling the move a positive step toward open governance. However, in the same breath, the Central Executive Director raised red flags about what he termed as persistent worsening corruption in public institutions, especially the Ministry of State, and is urging the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission to act decisively. Speaking with reporter Tuesday, Central Executive Director Miami described Liberia's dictat membership formalized on May 21, 2025, as a step in the right direction. The international initiative designed to promote transparency and sustainable practices in the marine fisheries sector through a global recognized set of standards. He further praised Nassar digital present an online lesson application system, which, according to him, cited as an example of good governance. The entire board used the occasion to appeal to President Joseph Boakai, urging him to take immediate action on the GAC audit recommendation and ensure that those implicated, whether past or present, are held accountable. Former presidential candidate in the 2023 general election, and human rights lawyer Kasatiawan Konglu has publicly defended Senator Eddie Melvin Snow following his controversial comments expressing a desire Unity Party-led government to fail. Dr. Gongo, through his social media platform, criticized the Ministry of Information response to Snow, describing it as an infringement on free speech. He pledged to represent or represent Snow if any legal action is taken against him. The former presidential candidate condemned the Blackhat administration intolerant of dissent, emphasizing that free speech is crucial for effective governance and democratic development. He argued that differing opinions should be seen as opportunities for improvement rather than threat or as threat. And so Congo also praised former President George Weah for the enactment of the Kamara Act of 2018, which decriminalized certain offenses related to speech. The human rights lawyer highlighted the significance of this act in protecting citizens from harassment based on their political beliefs in reinforcing Liberia's democratic standards. In a quest for better education, the citizens of Yagba Town over the weekend launched a fundraising campaign. The Yagba Town Public School included statutory district. The lone dormant Yagba Town Public School located in the Mountain Plain to the statutory district has not been operational since 2018, depriving children access to formal education. The initiative, spearheaded by the district education officer, Prince Fode, school principal Takimba Flomo, and Peewit Sando, is aimed at mobilizing communities leaders, including parents, together in raising funds for the reopening of the Yekwe Town Public School. Speaking at the fundraising program, Prince Fode, district education officer, said the 6 year closure has had devastating consequences on school kids within the Yekwe town. He added that children in Yucatan have been left behind in Liberia educational development with long-term closure of the Yucatan public school. The district education officer emphasized the urgency of the fundraising process, called on parents to mobilize community leaders, including parents, together in raising funds for the reopening of the Yucatan public school. The woman of the West Point market will support and other marketers on Tuesday submitted a formal petition to the House of Representatives through its Speaker Richard Cohen demanding urgent legislative intervention over what they described as the unlawful withholding of market authority by Mossorata County District 7 Representative Imad Down. In the petition, the women accused Representative Down of refusing to hand over the keys and official control of the West Point market to the Liberia Marketing Association despite a court ruling affirming the LMA authority. The marketers insist that the current leadership of the LMA was democratically elected through a transparent process. As such, Representative Down should allow LMA leadership to take full control of the market. The marketers noted that Representative Down's continued refusal to comply with the court decision undermines the rule of law and violates basic administrative procedure. Dear Viajanshipna is a reminder that you're in tune to King's News Broom, 45 minutes of the most compelling news from Liberia and other parts of the world. First up in the news this evening, following Liberia election on the United Nations Security Council, President Joseph Boakai extended warm gratitude to nations that supported Liberia's candidacy and paid homage to United Nations peacekeepers, including African Union mediators, whose efforts helped stabilize the country in the aftermath of the Civil War, as Liberia marked a historic return to the global stage with its election to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for the first time in 64 years. Supporters of the Congress for Democratic Change took on their social media platform to appreciate former President George Weah for his role in laying the diplomatic foundation that made the achievement possible. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia expresses concern following the release of a compliance Federal Auditing Commission, which uncovered severe irregularities in the Ministry of State supplementary payroll system covering the period from July 1, 2018 to March 31, 2024, urges President Barker to take immediate action on GAC audit recommendations and ensure that those implicated, whether past or present, are held accountable. And in foreign news, five members of the United Nations convoy carrying aid to the war-torn Sudanese city of El Fashad have been killed in an attack, the UN agency has said. Another break to be back, this time with the voices of the news maker. Thanks so much for rejoining us on the news program tonight. Today's development, the Financial Intelligence Agency of Liberia has alarmed over rampant corruption at the Monrovia City Corporation. In a communication addressed to Monrovia City Mayor John Safa, the FIA revealed that it has gathered information about various activities of the MCC. According to the latest revelation, the FIA followed Unity Party Queen Johnson public outburst accusing Mayor John Safa corruption and nepotism for the MCC. According to her, Safa has implored his personal staff for his printing press at the MCC and also appointed his daughter as the revenue director of the entity.
Supporting a daughter to be a revenue director for City Hall, MCC. You take your daughter to be revenue director, MCC, and now you see the corruption. Safa is corrupt. President Safa closed the printing press. As soon as the president appointed Safa closed the business down and took everybody to MCC to work. That's his stance. He had meeting just a few days with his staffs of MCC. Safa said, JB now gave me job. And his money gave me job. I'm asking Safa who he gave money to that gave him job. Who told Safa gave money to that gave him job? Any pilot that pick up the government will fire you. If you not power, JB appointed you in his government. The new fire for Russia will come for you. We put our left on the love of Joseph Parker to be president. We put our left on love of individual in rich extent in the family. We not, I will never go against Joseph Parker's government. I'll go for all those that go against all those that fight for Russia. Joseph is corrupt. Oh yes, Papa Saba. But Saba will take for a child in killing and make her COS for MCC. The see child woman and make me a family take all the money around him for inauguration. Keep people. The government will vote for enough family government, enough friends government, voted for my parent government, of your government. So now, when I come back on life for you guys, my internet is streaming. But Saba, watch I will fight. This now. Let it stop. Give us some.
The voice of a staunch supporter of the ruling United Party, Queen Johnson, they are speaking. Has Liberia been elected to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, marking a historic diplomatic milestone for the West African nation? The Liberian leader, His Excellency President Waka, reflected on Liberia's armed restraint class and praised the country's resilience in overcoming conflicts and division. He spoke in Monrovia.
Respectful of a new chapter in our nation's history. The United Nations Security Council has honored us with a non-permanent seat in 2026-2027, recognizing our commitment to peace and dedication to global cooperation. We extend our deepest gratitude to all UN member states for their confidence. This is a moment of honor and humility for our 178-year-old republic, Africa's first independent nation, whose long historic journey. Our election is not just a national achievement, it symbolizes Africa's perseverance and is a tribute to generations of Liberians who have held firm to freedom, self-governance, and global solidarity. From our role in the League of Nations, and as the founder member of the United Nations, our contribution to African independence in Liberia has always punched above its weight on the global stage. We honor the memory of Ambassador Andy Brooks-Lander, Africa's first female president of the United Nations General Assembly, whose call for substance over symbolism still echoes. And we recall the foresight of President William Alexander Jr., who warned the global peace was impossible without African freedom and justice. Liberia had walked a difficult road from conflict to recovery, but it has never been alone. We remain grateful to the United Nations, ECOWAS, and African Union for their role in our peace process. We especially pay tribute to the 202 United Nations peacekeepers who died in the cause of Liberia. From the ruins of war, Liberia has risen as a democracy, holding successful and peaceful elections and achieving historic power transfer. Today's election confirms Liberia.
The voice of President Joseph Boakai was speaking after Liberia election as a member on the United Nations Security Council seat. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia has expressed concern following the release of the compliance audit by the General Auditing Commission, which uncovers severe irregularities in the Ministry's state supplementary payroll system, covering the period from July 1, 2018 to March 31, 2024. Addressing a press conference Tuesday in Singa, Center Executive Director Anderson Miamin stated that among key findings, including over US 3.5 million on authorized supplementary payroll spending, totaling US 7.9 million and LD 900,000 to one severance payment made to over US 647 layoff employees without authorization. He spoke to newsmen in Monrovia.
While we commend the government of Liberia for the recent transparency effort, we are mindful of the report recently released by the General Auditing Commission of the compliance audit of the supplementary payroll system of the Ministry of State for the period covering July 1, 2018 to March 31, 2024. The report underscores systemic issues in public financial management. The Ministry of State, to name a few, unauthorized supplementary payroll spending in the tune of over $3.5 million dollars, payment of over $7.9 million dollars, and Liberian dollars $964,766 without supporting documentation, and unauthorized severance payments to 647 laid-off employees. We note that the audit covers to a large extent the administration of former President George Weah and the previous ministers such as Nathaniel McGill, our Senator of Magibi County, and recent Broom. Nonetheless, in addition to the many systemic issues raised by the audit linked to the current administration regarding previous administration, the report indicates that the ministry under the current administration hired supplementary staff within 2 months of taking office without proper recruitment processes and paid the hires over US dollars to the 6,000 monthly for consultancy borderline without verification or documentation. The report also noted failure of the current administration to provide records or facilitate verification of these employees, raising concerns about transparency and accountability. Center sees this finding as disturbing, especially considering that the Ministry of State dismissed 3 senior officials in 2024 that made reports of payroll tampering. We wonder whether the ministry dismissed these officials for acts done prior to the Black administration or for those done during the Black administration or both. We believe that the answer to this dilemma will shed light on whether the Ministry of State is truly committed to fighting corruption and not saving face by targeting those who served the previous administration. Albeit this, we urge the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission to take swift actions to investigate these allegations. We have reviewed the recent quarterly report of the LSCC, which indicates that investigations.
He's Anasi Miami, the head of the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, Center that's speaking. In a related development, the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia Executive Director, Anasi Miami, lauded the government of Liberia for its recent accession to the Fishery Transparency Initiative, calling the move a positive step toward open governance. Speaking with reporters Tuesday, Center Executive Director Miami described Liberia FACTA membership formalized on May 21, 2025 as a step in the right direction.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we have read with great excitement that Liberia has joined the Fisheries Transparency Initiative on May 21, 2025, a global multi-stakeholder partnership aimed at enhancing transparency and participation in sustainable management of marine fisheries through the implementation of the Fiji Standard. The Fiji Standard is a global recognized framework that outlines specific transparency requirements for countries in the governance and management of marine fisheries. We applaud this effort by the government of Liberia through the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority, NAFA, to promote the culture of transparency, especially within the fisheries sector. Liberia's membership to the initiative is a step in the right direction in promoting an equitable, inclusive, and transparent fisheries sector. On to be those days when policies, frameworks, agreements, processes, and reports with implications on the people in the state are shrouded in secrecy. Now is the time to nurture and value a culture of transparency across different government institutions and their services. We commend NAPA for maintaining an active website and a portal for online application for licenses. Nonetheless, we look forward to publication of more information regarding fisheries.
He's Anderson Miami, the head of the Center for Transparency and Accountability, Center, that's speaking to newsmen in Monrovia. We've halfway past the news time now. It's a reminder that you are in tune to King's News Broom, 45 minutes of the most compelling news from Liberia and other parts of the world. So we stop in the news this evening. Following Liberia election on the United Nations Security Council, President Joseph Boakai extended warm gratitude to the nations that supported Liberia candidacy and paid homage to United Nations peacekeepers, including African Union mediators, whose efforts helped stabilize the country in the aftermath of its civil war. As Liberia marks a historic return to the global stage with its election to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for the first time in 64 years, supporters of the Congress for Democratic Change took on their social media platform to appreciate former President George Weah for his role in laying the diplomatic foundation that made the achievement possible. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia expresses concern following the release of a compliance audit by the General Auditing Commission, which uncovered severe irregularities in the Ministry of State's supplementary payroll system covering the period of July 1, 2020, that's 2018 to March 31, 2024, urges President Bouaka to take immediate action on GAC audit recommendations and ensure that those implicated, whether past or present, are held accountable. And away from Liberia, 5 members of a United Nations convoy carrying aid to the war-torn Sudanese city of El Fashar have been killed in an attack, UN agencies have said. Another break to be back with more stories on the news tonight. Thanks so much for rejoining us. Today's development, former presidential candidate in the 2023 general election and human rights lawyer Councillor Tiawan Gonglo has publicly defended Senator Edwin Melvin Snow following his controversial comments expressing a desire for the Unity Party-led government to fail. The former presidential candidate condemned the Bouaka administration's intolerance of dissent, emphasizing that free speech is crucial for effective governance and democratic development.
My fellow Liberians, I'm here to speak to you this evening about a very important subject matter: the intolerance of some government officials of opposing views of other Liberian government officials and even ordinary people. Last week, I read in the papers different views and even heard on the radio and read online very important government officials reacting to Senator Edwin Snow. What I heard is that they were reacting to a statement that they wish that the government would fail, and they were reacting in different ways. I was surprised at the reaction because normally, even in families, some people can say, this child will be nothing, this one will be nothing, this one will be nothing. I was told at some point that I would be nothing, but I became minister, I became solicitor general, and I used to tell some of those family members, yes, I was young, I was hired, I was working about and all that, but here I am today. This man is involved in student activism. He will not even finish University of Liberia. He will go nowhere. That is what they felt. But that statement, rather than me arguing with them, stimulated me. Why can the government say, if you say we'll fail, you are a liar? That should stimulate officials of government to succeed, to work so hard, like Abraham Traore, for the people of Liberia to feel their work, not to express anger. It shows intolerance. Opposing views are important in a democracy because it helps you to see the other side and to succeed. I don't think that people should be so angry when people express views against them. They should rather come and prove people wrong, not about what they say, but what they do in the interest of the Liberian people, like Ibrahim Traore, like other leaders in Africa. Look, during the election, my younger sister, whom I love so much, supported me in the first round. In the second round, she told me, brother, you have expressed support for Bouaka and called upon your party. I'm not LPP. I'm going to support George Weah. I had no problem with that. But then I read in the paper supposed to say there's problem in the Gongo family because while Gongo is supporting Bouaka, his sister is supporting Weah. I was not troubled by that. I was not opposed to that. And me and my sister remain close, and we are close today, very close today. I came in the newspaper and said, that is not true. There's no problem in the Gongo family. No expression of political views or people wishes about government should not be a source of anger.
He's Tiawan Gonglo, former presidential candidate and human rights lawyer. They're speaking. In a quest for a better education, the citizens of Yakbatan over the weekend launched a fundraising campaign for the Yakbatan Public School in Todi District, Mosharado County. Speaking at the fundraising program, Prince Fode, district education officer, said the 6-year closure has had devastating consequences on schools' kids within the Yakbatan.
To the lack of so many things. Some of our school have been broken down. For now, today we are in Yipasa, but the Kamara Public School have been broken down for the past 6 years. And here we are raising a fund to see how better for the community dweller, to see how we can really elevate the school back to start hopefully by grace of God September for the next school intake, because as information is circulating around this community, we have additional about 62 more community around this place. From our database that have close to a full school, we have Amoston Public School, we have Kenga have a similar situation, although Kenga is functioning, we have Le Prairie, we have Menvika, all the school, and that's not a Yotan public school. In consultation with our various principals, we have meeting with them on a continuous basis. We are going to read all our public school, the private school, the faith-based school to bring in that information, because right after this, the next school intake, by our course with our training, and the training we got to do with the school management and other things. After that, then transfer some of the teachers that have been giving the various principals some tough time. Brought some material that we use to start out with, get to do a textbook, get to do a chalk, duster, you just name it, some of the material for the class, boy, to see how they can start from there. But now, instead of what we have done is we are communicating with all the local chiefs around this dwelling place. We are communicating with them to see how they can come.
For his part, Dikaga Flomo, principal of the Yekbatown Public School, praised the community dwellers' unwavering commitment to the fundraising exercise.
Our own contribution, our invitees, most of them they pledges, most of them told us that after this program, because one of our major challenge we have here is the road. We don't have good road network. So to see most of these guys, our government officials living from Morovia to come here, they will say our road is bad. But after the program, we should meet them.
So basically, what's the driving distance, the level of kilometer from here in Morovia?
From here, Kakata on motorbike is about an hour. Our parents have come up with a strategies that they will come up with an MOU that you parent that will fail to send your child to this school, this Billy Kamara public school. These parents will be found, they will find the parent money and you got consequence of it. So the parents are really encouraged that all their children, they will make sure that all their children will go to school. They will send their children to school. We are appealing to the government, Ministry of Education, to help us to come and renovate our school.
Also in remark, former Representative candidate Pete Sandu vowed to support the fundraising for the reopening of the Yekbatown Public School.
There are two things that develop a country. You see, number one, that love. When we love each other, we'll be able to help each other. The second thing is education. If we get about 50 young people from the Jelly clan that are educated, you see the people will be developed. So these two things we should always take it serious. So having said that, I will open the rally with 2,000 Liberian dollars. By next week, I will also give $10,000. We the parents are here. The other will be our arm to those that will be here to teach. The problem came from we are citizens in the area. We're not helping the people that were teaching here, and we're preparing the future for our children. I've been
the voice of former Representative candidate Pete Sandu. Earlier on, you heard voices of Dikaga Flomo, principal of the Yekbatown Public School, and the district education officer Prince Fode. Away from Liberia now, 5 members of the United Nations convoy carrying aid to the war-torn Sudanese city of El Fashar have been killed in an attack. UN agency have said several people were also injured and multiple trucks burned on Monday night assault, which took place near Air Command in the state of Darfur. That's North Darfur. They added the two sides in Sudan's crueling civil war. The paramilitary rapid support forces, RSF, and the regular army have accused each other of striking the UN convoy with drones. The UN did not say how the attack happened, but called for an urgent investigation and for the perpetrator to be held accountable. The convoy was made up of 15 trucks from the UN Food and Children Agency, who said it was devastated that the aid did not reach famine-stricken El Fashar. El Fashar is the last major location in North Darfur under army control. Civilians and military personnel there have been under attack by the RSF for over a year. The convoy was attempting to reach children and families in the city with life-saving foods and nutrition supply when it was attacked, said a joint statement from the World Food Program (WFP) and the United Nations Children Agency (UNICEF). Following the attack, the Air Command Emergency Room, a group of local volunteers responded, posted a video of a burned out truck loaded with sacks of supplies on Facebook. The group blamed the attack on the Sudanese army. Air Command, which is controlled by the RSF, has previously been the target of the frequent attack on the conflict between the paramilitary group and the army. Well, from the foreign scene, this is how we like to draw the curtains on this evening news presentation. But before we take a leave of you, here are stories we closely follow. Following Liberia election on the United Nations Security Council, President Joseph Boakai extended warm gratitude to the nations that supported Liberia candidacy and paid homage to United Nations peacekeepers, including African Union mediators, whose efforts helped stabilize the country in the aftermath of its civil war. As long as has Liberia marked a historic return to the global stage with its election to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for the first time in 64 years. Supporters of the Congress for Democratic Change took on their social media platform to appreciate former President George Weah for his role in laying the diplomatic foundation that made the achievement possible. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia expresses concern following the release of a compliance audit by the General Auditing Commission, which uncovered severe irregularities in the Ministry of State's supplementary payroll system covering the period from July 1, 2018 to March 31st, 2024, urges President Boakai to take immediate action on GAC audit recommendation and ensure that those implicated, whether past or present, are held accountable. In foreign news, 5 members of the United Nations convoy carrying aid to the war-torn Sudanese city of Al-Fashar have been killed in an attack, UN agency has said. Many thanks to all of our reporters, correspondents, and contributors who helped in making this evening newscast a success. Newton took us out of control and able to handle the sound. On behalf of the entire news team here at Royal Multimedia Business Group, my name is Otis Sankan, a presenter. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Good night.